Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. I am not Dylan Heisen. He is on vacation, but we'll be back in a couple weeks. So for this RWBY pod, I am your host, Beatriz Mourad, and today I'm joined by Hayley Nabuurs.
Hello.
And Allie Martin.
Hello.
We're going to discuss episode 7 of volume 7 of RWBY, Worst Case Scenario. If you haven't watched it, go watch it, then come back. You can find out more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. All right, girls, tell me, what are your general thoughts about this episode? Hayley.
I think it was good. It felt solid and kind of like last week's episode where it was generally a cohesive episode, like in the week-to-week format, which was really nice and refreshing for RWBY. So it's continuing with that. I think there were some nice Bumblebee moments happening. Yep. I'm happy they were also like being intelligent and logical and realizing we should maybe tell this person what's going on. So
yeah,
communication, yay. So that was good. I feel like I was going into this episode expecting there to be like a massive fight at the start, but they were just kind of like, oh, the Grimms, we took care of that. Don't worry about that. So that was a little bit of an adjustment. And I think that would have been good at the start of this episode because it seemed like an awful lot of the season there hasn't been much like battles happening.
Right.
Although we did get a great Bumblebee and Robin fight scene. That was fantastic. But that also made me realize like, yeah, there hasn't been a lot of that. So, but you know, whatever. We got good stuff instead. But yeah, no, I think it was good. I'm excited to see what comes, which is always good at the end of an episode.
Totally. Yeah, and I agree. This show, the episodes have been relatively quiet in comparison to other RWBY stuff. Allie, what about you? Did you like this episode?
I did, and I expected to like it, but I didn't expect any of that. I went in thinking we were going to get the rest of last episode with, like, Bumblebee date, but this was way better. I like how they're getting really into the actual politics now, because I've been waiting, like, for that to kick in for the volume.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, because based on Discord, some people don't care about it. So it's nice to see someone that does. Nice to see people that are like, yeah, this is okay. I'll say this. I initially, and there's record of this on Discord, initially I was kind of one of those people who just didn't care, but then I watched this episode 4 more times. And completely, slightly irrelevant, but it's gonna fit in. Give me a second to make it all connect. But there's a show that I watch called Runaways, and it just released its last season. And one of the things that annoyed me the most about that show is that they jumped from point A to point C without the need of point B. Of like, they're just like, oh, we're just gonna not go for this scene. We're just not gonna give you the necessary scene in the middle that you need in order to make these 2 other scenes actually matter, or these 2 episodes actually matter. And this is very much point B. Like, this episode of RWBY is very much that, which is, so I can't be a hypocrite. I can't be like, in one show being like, I need that, and then in this show being like, this is garbage. No, I can't do that. And this is very much a point B episode, which is, it moves plot things forward, it connects things that need to be connected, and does give us character moments. I think that one of the kind of proof that the show has kind of upped its quality in terms of the writing is that it now actually gives us character moments along with the plot, because I know that certain people don't really care about what happens in the plot. Well, now we're actually getting not just for what some people may see as boring, but we get actual some character moments within it, and some very interesting character moments within it. So it's a very solid episode, I think. Once you remove any kind of preconceived notions of what you wanted the episode to be. It's actually a really good episode. But let's talk about what happens in the episode, which starts off really interesting. Which is, we get this kind of, I want to say, what's that word of like how when they describe like the previously on kind of thing, right, where it's kind of Ironwood just being like, all right, this is the worst case scenario, this happened. And they kind of showed it in like this interesting scene with Ironwood and the crew. And it's bad. Ironwood initiated the prohibition of assembly, which is already like, if red flags didn't show up before, they definitely are on now. We learned that. We learned Robin has been stealing supplies from the tower in true Robin Hood fashion. Well, not from the tower, but for the tower that they're building. She's now stealing them and has convinced the people of Mantle to just not work with the military anymore. And now we have this very kind of tense moment where Winter says the only thing they can do now is force martial law on Mantle and Atlas in general. And Nora is not having it. Nora is, like, this was an amazing scene for Nora. Like, I was not going into this because we started seeing it throughout this season in particular. This volume, we started seeing, like, these moments where Nora's just kind of taken on kind of the role that John used to have, where it was just, he was when they have, like, the leader, because I don't know, he just was absent this episode. And I feel like 3 volumes back, he would have been, like, the one who would have said Nora's lines, if that makes sense. Like, they would have given those lines to him. And no, we got it from Nora, and it was amazing. And tell me, like, aren't you all proud of Nora? Isn't she great?
I love that she's done with everything, with all the, like, terrible stuff. And now she's, like, getting vocalization from her about it.
Yeah.
But with Ren, it makes me worried. We can get into that when that happens.
Oh, I mean, get into it. Tell me, why are you worried?
I can't tell if he's using his semblance or if he's just trying to, I mean, you have Soldier Ren written here. Some people were saying bootlicker Ren, and that makes me feel like, I don't know. True.
Hayley, are you worried about Ren?
Maybe. I don't know. That was, like, such a strange editing choice where they were just like he had no indication during any of the conversation that he was feeling any particular way, and then all of a sudden it's like, yes sir, like, it was very dramatic. So I guess there's something happening, but I think if you blinked at that second you would never know it. So I don't know if it's been built up very well, if anything's going to happen, but who knows. I guess that's another fun thing to watch for. But but I was very, like you said, I was not anticipating Nora to be the one to, like, lose it at Ironwood, which was, like, I think very justified, her reaction. But I think, like, go Nora. Like,
it really makes me wonder more about her backstory, though, like when she was up on the streets.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, why have we not heard from her in this way before? It makes complete sense for her character.
Right.
I think it's really good. Really good.
Is she kind of voicing what others in the room wanted to voice but didn't? Or is it just, or is, like, because
Ruby at least.
Right.
But then she did voice her opinions.
Yeah,
true. But they've also been, like, just kind of like, Ironwood knows best.
Right.
We won't really question him, which seems out of character for them. But then we see that, like, Bumblebee realize, okay, maybe he doesn't know everything, and they start to turn against him, which I think is good. Like you were saying, Beatrice, very much a B episode where we're seeing, like, up until now they've been very supportive of him and Ironwood, and haven't really been, I don't know, questioning necessarily his motives, because they're like, oh, he's on our side, he knows what's best. And this is the episode where we're starting to see them question that. And also, I like seeing not everyone in the group all as a team being like, okay, he's bad now, we've decided he's bad, we're going to move on. Like, they're fracturing and have their own like, initiative in this way. So that's really interesting and kind of new for RWBY. I don't remember much of that happening in the past. They've always operated as a unit, so it's interesting to see them differ, especially with such an ambiguous topic where it's like you could argue that what he's doing is right and logical, but you can also argue the complete opposite, and it's, like, so gray, although he seems to be getting more and more bad now. So
that one line, just how he goes like, my kingdom, like, his emphasis on my, I was like, that is,
I know, I was like, is he the king? But like, no, I don't think he is, because council still, maybe we'll probably meet the council next week. That's
oh god,
that's gonna be totally, that's gonna be interesting, and I'm excited for that. But I agree, it hurts me because I love bearded Ironwood so much, but then he's just, every episode he's just showing more and more red flags, and I just can't ignore them anymore. But I will say I think it's not necessarily that it's in this episode that we're finally seeing the trepidation for Ironwood. I think it's like now they're voicing it. Like that's why I think maybe it hit me even harder with Nora, because before they were all kind of like, okay, we'll wait and see. We're still going to trust him. We're still going to work with him. And now like you said, Hayley, we are definitely seeing the fractures, but I feel like it's now we're putting voice to that. Whereas before it was more just like expressions, kind of a little bit of timidness. Now we're seeing, which is also a testament to how much these characters have grown over these volumes, how much confidence they have in their own choices and making those choices. They're growing up and they're just like, we're not going to just do what we're told. But yeah, let's move to obviously I'm very biased, but my favorite scene of the episode.
I think it might be all of our favorite.
I mean, yeah, probably, possibly. Allie, you've mentioned how you've wanted a talk. On Discord, you've mentioned how you want Bumblebee to talk. Is this the talk? Is this the uppercase T talk? Or what is it for you? Like, walk me through this.
Oh, well, they need a lot of talks. This was like one of the ones. I'm glad they did touch on, like, you know, Blake's worried if they did the right thing, like murdering a person together, even if that person was like a garbage dumpster fire.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it was a good talk. I still need them to just talk about their feelings, like, you know, obviously for each other, how they feel about, like, I don't know. I thought they would touch on what was it? Who made was it Harriet who was like, this is just a job?
Right.
I thought they would at least like talk about that, but it felt like the undertones were kind of there. Because then they go and do not their job and go talk to Robin.
True. Very true. They don't do the job. Hayley, what was your biggest takeaway from this scene in particular? Like, what stood out to you?
I think it's been a theme throughout this volume in particular, but I really got the sense that they're like a partnership in this discussion. You know, like I feel like they're moving away from the group, which is kind of interesting. And I'm not totally against it. Like it's neat to see. But yeah, no, where they're just very comfortable with each other and talk about heavy subjects with each other. And I feel like there was also a feeling in this that this is something they've talked about before. Like this isn't the first time it's come up, which I wish we could have seen the other times. But I don't know. I feel like, I'm also waiting. I feel like this wasn't the talk, you know, like we need a relationship talk.
Okay. That's
like, I love you.
Okay.
You know, that's the talk.
Okay.
This is also great, but like that means we're in. And Bumblebee's definitely already happening. It has been happening, but that would just be really good to see.
Gotcha. Okay. Because, all right. This is the B talk then. See, we're all linking this in. This is the B
Exactly.
episode. This is the B talk. This is leading up to the big relationship talk. But I don't know. I don't know if they've talked about it before. And I do want to point out just the voice acting in the scene. I think both of them really nailed the I don't know. There's just the way the two the performances, they just really capture that there was just so much weight and like double meaning and heaviness to what they were saying. They were like, no,
totally.
there's just so much tension. I think a lot of the also beyond just, you know, obviously the animation, the expressions, the way that they're the way that they're being set up in the scene, but just the way the voices were able to convey that. I just wanted to give props to the voice actresses for that.
Yeah.
But it was just really interesting, and I like how this all again fits in with the greater question of this entire volume, which is, well, how do we do the right thing, right? What is like, it is so much more gray, and it also further emphasizes how they don't necessarily agree on how things should be done. Blake was like, I don't think we should have told Ironwood, and Yang was like, maybe we should have told Ironwood about Salem and what they know. And it's okay, and they have, I don't know, I don't think this is like planting a seed of a confrontation or a conflict like the Ren thing was. But I think we've reached, there's this kind of point we're reaching where for a long time, Ren and Nora have been this parallel to Bumblebee. I think now we're going to start seeing, just because they're different characters and they're going to react to things differently, they're going to start, there's going to be a fork in the road. Suddenly these relationships aren't necessarily going to be so much in parallel moving forward. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. Where I feel like Bumblebee's getting ready. Right. I feel like Bumblebee's getting ready to communicate, whereas Ren, I think, is going to communicate even less.
Is the whole theme of this season like the value of communicating with others?
I mean, they're trying to build a tower, a communication tower.
That would be like beautiful.
Actually, yeah. It totally
yeah.
is, though. It totally is. Like, the people who are communicating with each other and are being honest with each other are going to succeed, whereas if you don't, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just listen to, and I really am starting to really, really love the opening song, but the lyrics of that song, it's like, believe in the love or whatever the lyrics are, and the truth will open your eyes, but it's like, it's all about love and communication, and I'm just like, man, this is a great message.
That's deep.
Yeah, there are layers.
This is a deep season.
There are layers to this.
Finally, we're here.
But yeah, Bumblebee decide to break away from orders, and they do have this amazing, very fluid action sequence with Robin, which I also found really funny because like, no, we want to talk as I'm punching you, which is very Yang to do, which I loved. But very interesting kind of this. I mean, I'm all for the decision. Do you guys agree with the decision they made to like to tell Robin at least some of the things that were happening? Do you agree?
Completely agree. Because like, she's going to find out. The whole point of all of this and the satellite, which I just, again, love the satellite plotline. It's so funny to me. But it, like, the whole point of that mission is to tell everyone. So she's going to find out in, like, within a month, you know, when they shoot that thing into the sky. So I feel like if she is someone that should be privy to that knowledge because she's leading a resistance against them and is someone they clearly have a communication with established already, you know, like they know each other, they know they can communicate with each other. And like, if they just told her from the outset, she'd be like, oh, I get it now, and understands that it is in some ways for the greater good, you know? So I think it's completely illogical to not tell her, but whatever. Whatever, Ironwood, you stuck in his own world. But yeah, Bumblebee, like, again, they're the communicators, right? They're like, we should talk to her. And I think that is just very logical in my mind.
Yeah. Allie, do you agree?
It's not a grand secret.
I mean, they also know she's trying to help, obviously, so they are trying to help both of them. Like, she can't trust Ironwood, he believes he can't trust anybody, you know. They're trying to do the right thing. I think they made a good decision, maybe not in the best time, but it's also probably the only time. Right. But it makes sense.
Yeah. And I do think Robin's semblance is going to be very useful moving forward. I think it's safe to say, especially for a season that's based on communication. It's basically she can see if you're lying. It's a very convenient semblance, I think.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah. Also limiting, though, because you have to hold their hand.
Right. But I think that's very okay. But again, we're going to talk about layers here. But that is so meaningful. It's like only when you hold hands, you know, the power of touch and like grasping, you know, and hand holding. It's like, you know how this show loves hand holding. To really emphasize like, oh, we can only really trust each other if we hold hands. I think that's a pretty... I see you, RWBY. I see you.
This is such a deep season. What is happening to RWBY? This is amazing.
Having all sorts of feelings now, like.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
Wow.
But I will also say, and it's interesting how I do want to make a point of focusing on these moments when truth is being told, because in this episode we get other instances where once again secrets are winning over the truth, right? So we have in that scene with Ironwood and Nora, we have them saying how they can't tell anyone about Tyrion running amok because they can't, because potential Grimm or something, and it'll look bad on the military. And then we have later on Ironwood saying, oh yeah, you know how that staff, that's what's keeping Atlas up, so that's a secret too. I think there's a lot of secrets, and we're starting to see. And the fact that RWBY, the first like big leader thing she did this season is to hold back on the Salem secret. I mean, the Salem truth. I'm getting confusing the secrets and the truths. It's just interesting who's lying and who's telling the truth. That's what I'm finding interesting, and I'm worried that we're going to start seeing some like separation of the group itself. Like, we worked so hard to get Team RWBY back together, and now I'm like, oh, but Ruby's lying, but Yangs really wants to tell the truth, and now are we going to see a potential kind of, like, splintering of possibly...
I'm thinking we might, and I'm kind of game for it. Like, I'm seeing possibly that Bumblebee will go off with Robin, and the rest of the team will, like, be like, you betrayed us and everything, and it'll be a whole fight, and then they'll leave each other or whatever. But I think that would be kind of... interesting. It'd be very angsty.
Yes.
Which, we love in RWBY, love our angst. But yeah, I think it'd be an interesting dynamic because they have been a relatively cohesive unit and team for the majority of the show. Like it's based on that, right? So it'd be really interesting to see them break away from that structure. But who knows? But I think this episode plants the seeds where that is something they could do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm just thinking back to Volume 4, I think it was, when everyone was split up. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go through that.
We don't want to do a road trip.
Like an intentional version of that, though. It would be so much more angsty.
Enemies or something. And that would be kind of cool.
But that wouldn't be resolved in this volume, right?
Who knows?
God, what if they left the volume on that like cliffhanger?
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Bumblebee kiss as they leave the team.
Oh, pain. It's like such joy and then such pain.
Yes.
Oh man. All right. We're going straight into the angst.
Going there.
See what happens.
Before we leave the Robin and the Bees scene, I do want to say that the best line of the episode was, "I know what the tower means, fisticuffs." Just the best line. I love it. I'm going to quote it. I'm just going to throw it out to random people, and they're just going to have to deal with it. So, moving on to the Pietro scene. So, we have Penny he's basically, like, I guess downloading what Penny saw, so that they'll release it to the world, being like, look, see, she didn't do what you think she did.
And they're all going to be like, no, that's a lie.
Right, exactly. It's like, no, this isn't going to change anything.
No. It's good effort, but I don't think it's going to do much.
Yeah, the public still wants Penny to be deactivated.
Yes.
And
it's pretty harsh, I think.
Very harsh.
Super harsh.
Okay, all right, question. Do you think, and this I felt the first time I watched it. Then the second, third time, it didn't hit me as hard. But when RWBY says, it's fine, you can just turn her back on again. Did that bother you a little bit?
Dark.
A little bit.
That was really dark.
It was funny, but it was a little...
Just restart her. It's fine.
Especially after you learned how Penny is alive, which I had been waiting for. We were all talking about that last week.
Right, yeah. I mean, granted, she said that before she found out. So she didn't know. She didn't know that Pietro, the reveal, that he gives Penny part of his aura so that's how she has a soul. Which
great. I love it.
I'm happy Dylan isn't on this episode though, because he would have lost he did lose his mind, I'm sure, over that aura thing.
My God, I just had an idea. So who is who is like the one person we know that has a lot of aura?
Uh-oh.
What if? What if?
Oh no!
That's how you bring Jean back in. You can't have
sacrifices himself for Penny.
No, doesn't sacrifice. He just has a lot of aura, so he just gives Penny some of his aura.
It's true.
Oh.
Oh, they did have that weird. There was a line like when they were battling training a couple episodes ago, where they're like, "Oh, Jean, like you can extend it and everything, like all that jazz."
Yeah, so maybe we don't have to say goodbye to Pietro just yet. I mean, assuming that would need to happen, we have someone who has a lot of aura that he could just share.
But also, like, I don't really get what the benefit would be of just restarting her, though, because she's still the same thing. So why would that calm people down?
I think maybe it's like maybe it's kind of just to lessen the tension. So they'll be like, okay, we're going to do what you say. We're a deactivator. Now we're going to show you what actually happened. And then finally, when things die down, we'll bring her back. And then people will be fine with it. I don't know.
Or when you just like you don't mean reboot, right?
Sorry?
That would be like, when you say restart, you don't mean reboot? Or
No, I think it just turned... I think... Because she was destroyed and she was put back together and she still remembers everything. So I think like if you deactivate her, she'll still remember when you.
I hope they don't take away her memories or something like that.
No, I still think that Watts is gonna hack her at one point.
Yeah.
I still think that's gonna happen.
This really is like the deep dark season. It feels like.
Yeah. And speaking of, we also see in that scene with Pietro that he shows a picture of his former colleagues and very not so discreetly is covering the face of one of them.
I've laughed that whole time.
That was amazing.
And then finally he removes it, but I guess he's not thinking about it, but it's a very intentional cover up. And then the fact that the episode does show us Watts' face makes me not annoyed at that. Because if anything, it was just like, look, one of their faces covered. This is to tell the audience, hey, pay attention to this face because we're going to show it to you. Had it just been covered, I'm like, okay, it's obviously Watts and you're just not showing us. But they did show it, so I didn't mind it. But going from that, we get to this really, it's an interesting scene. It's between Ironwood and Oscar, right? We go from the...
Yeah, what a weird scene.
Yeah.
Really weird.
But I don't mind it. I don't mind it because here's the thing. I think Oscar's kind of, at least in this volume, Oscar's kind of become the moral compass, which is weird because Ozpin is, in his head is part of him now. So it's strange because Ozpin has just been this person that is kind of morally ambiguous, that we don't, kept secrets, all this stuff. But Oscar himself, he's the one that goes to talk to RWBY being like, hey, are you sure this was okay to do? Aren't we just like Ozpin if we do this? And then now he's having this conversation with Ironwood where he goes, hey, like Ironwood is looking to him for kind of being like, is this right? I'm right? That's kind of what Oscar's kind of becoming, which kind of makes me nervous because by the time that he and Ozpin become one, isn't that gonna be, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of putting him in this position that in the future, we might make the same mistakes. Do you agree with that analysis or no?
I think I do. I can't even tell if, Oz is secretly, I don't know, awake or whatever and, listening and gonna take over. He is,
an ongoing theory.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he is very... wise in this conversation.
Right. But you could, he's also just been through a lot recently, right? I don't know. He kind of confuses me, but I'm also, confused about Ironwood a little bit with when he talks about Salem.
Mm-hmm. What confuses you?
The scene with the chess marker on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that was. Was that,
I don't know.
that he was, mind control? Am I forgetting a scene that happened, in an older volume?
If you are, then I am too, because I feel like that the symbol of that chess piece seemed like I should have recognized that, but I don't know what that's from.
Is that from volume 3?
Yeah, it would be from, if it were, it's gonna be from volume 3.
Because he was talking about volume 3.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So, I don't know. I can't remember it, but maybe it was haha, checkmate. That's why it's a chess piece.
Maybe there's something deeper going on with Ironwood, though. That's making him act this way.
He was talking about Salem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think this might also just be a pitfall of having something that happened so long ago. Volume 3 came out when? How many years ago? So, it's been a while. So I think that also might be the pitfall because, I can understand how, because when the fall of Beacon happened, it was, he got hacked. If he's going to get hacked again. Oh my goodness, again. But, he got hacked, his soldiers got hacked, the robots, and then they started attacking people, right? So that can be pretty traumatizing, especially having someone use the weapons you've created against you. So I understand, I think that's what's, so great about Ironwood's character is that the mode, I understand why he's doing the thing he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's acting out of character. I think it's just it's just a question of, okay, do you agree with him or not? But it's like, I understand what pushed him to it based on what happened in Volume 3. So that's why this conversation's so interesting, because he's still looking at Ozpin as this kind of moral compass, and it's like...
Mm-hmm. And it's not Ozpin.
Yeah. It's not Ozpin, it's just this kid. I mean, question mark, asterisk, I don't know. He might be Ozpin, and we just don't know.
They're hanging out a lot together, so I don't know.
They are.
Yeah.
Question is Atlas gonna come crashing down into Mantle?
100%. Yeah, because they're like, it can only be used for one thing, so something's gonna go wrong, and they're gonna have to use it, and then it's gonna crash.
Yeah.
So I can see it going, especially if we're going down the really, like, everything is lost road.
Yeah. And dark.
Oh man, imagine how dark that the place that was being constantly abused by Atlas is the place that Atlas is just gonna crash into.
Oh, crush.
That's just
like,
gonna be crushed
everyone.
by
That's
Atlas.
Intense.
That's really dark. I don't know.
This is really like anime dark now. It's finally an anime.
Yeah. I mean, but also, like, Ozpin, what were you thinking? Why would you suggest that they use this thing to raise Atlas when you know that there's someone after it? Like, what was, I don't know, Ozpin's logic.
Yeah, that
sometimes.
is a flawed use of it.
Or it just, it just shows a lot of hubris,
like, the logic of putting Atlas in the sky makes sense because the Grimm, but also not quite because they can fly. But maybe they can't fly that high?
Well, I mean, the Ironwood did say that. Ironwood did have that line. It's a throwaway line. Yeah. He does say it where he goes like, build the tower so high up that the Grimm can't reach it.
Yeah, but like, Ozpin, why would you use it to do something that could cause destruction and death if reversed?
Yeah.
I
think it's just maybe he just never thought that Salem could get this far. Maybe like back when they were creating Atlas, he was like, she'll never get this. It's because she's not that strong. And then that is his failure, I guess.
Yeah.
He's
too cocky.
Yep, he's too cocky. But moving from that to kind of this final moment, it's the cliffhanger of the episode, which is that Jacques Schnee has invited everyone. I don't know what constitutes as everyone. Like, who exactly is invited?
All of our characters.
Like, are they? Like, I don't see Jacques being like, yes, Ren has to come.
Where's Jim?
Yeah.
Jim's still doing crossing guard duties, probably.
Exactly.
He's found his calling.
Yep. The moms just want to have Jim all to themselves, so. But you know what I mean? I'm just like, okay, who's everyone? But anyway, Ironwood is invited to dinner to defend his seat at the council. And I'm thinking, this isn't something that you would have dinner over. This is something that you would have, like, a hearing over, right?
Also, I just really want to see this council, because I have so many questions about, like, how many people are on it. Why, like, are there 3 people and they all together voted?
They're all straight old white men, and they vote on everything the same. And
so they're like, oh, you have to defend your seat, because that's the only way I can see this going, because that shouldn't just be something they can do, but maybe we'll meet like the monarch of Atlas, because they keep saying it's a kingdom, but we haven't seen any indication of that.
There's oh wow, I didn't even
I don't know
monarch,
right? But they're all like Vale and all of them are kingdoms,
right? Yeah,
but that denotes
we haven't met any monarchs yet.
Is it actually Ironwood? Is he not crazy?
Well, that's what I thought when he said my kingdom, and I'm like, oh my god, Ironwood's the monarch. But then no, he isn't, because they can vote him out at a dinner.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But no, I'm like, at first I was not on board for the whole politics thing, because it was just like, this is the season we're doing politics and like council voting. But I'm like just so curious.
Right.
I want to see it. I want some questions to be answered.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Totally. I want to see Atlas. I feel like we're in Atlas, but we spend most of our time in Mansell, and I think one of the reasons why I kind of wish how Atlas, it's the actual city above, was impacted by all the things that Ironwood is doing. Like, I want to see, okay, well, while everything's we're seeing all this horrible things happening in Mansell, I'm like, well, is something happening in Atlas? Like, I want to understand, like,
everybody
why
is just
it's going to crash to the ground.
Doing nothing.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is like Atlas just like completely like and utterly ignorant of what's happening in Mantle? Are they like I want to know what the people of Atlas are saying, because they want Penny deactivated too. So I'm just like, well, like I don't know. There's like this division that's being created between Atlas and Mantle, but I'm from Atlas. I'm only getting like 3 people: Jacques, the council, and Ironwood, and the school, but I've only seen like 4 characters in the school. I'm like, give me a sense, like, are they as angry? Like, what's going on? I just don't have this sense of Atlas at all. But well, I do of Mantle.
This is like, Atlas is the rich kingdom part of the
like bossing
I guess,
kind
so
of
like
isn't Mantle on the bottom and Atlas is on top, right?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Atlas
so everyone in Atlas is living like the cushy life and like just eating caviar every day and probably not even aware or cares
I
about
don't know.
what's
I think it might. I feel like, because you know how you see this like giant like castle
probably
thing.
Very like the population is low up there, and
because it's a lot
that's
of.
That's
what
I want to know.
Right.
That's true. That's what I want to know. If that's the case, I want to like. I don't know yet though. That hasn't been confirmed. How extreme the disparity is. Is it just a couple people in this giant group of land, or is it
at a dinner invitation? Oh God, it's going to be so awkward and very uncomfortable.
All right, is Bumblebee gonna go to this dinner?
Oh, hopefully not. Oh God, that would be a disaster.
But they could get dressed up. That would be cute.
I'm just saying, people have been saying like this is the closest we'll get to a ball, right? Well, like we already got robbed Bumblebee like dancing at like this nightclub, so I'm just like, well, is this it?
So maybe
like,
everyone
could be the time.
Mean everyone like.
And like if we're gonna see like I don't know, it's a very interesting opportunity the show has with like, all right, well, let's see how people react to a faunus and a human dating, if they are dating.
Oh God, in Atlas.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ironwood's getting fired.
Meanwhile, right.
Instance.
Right. Of course, we also have to focus on Ironwood. Of course, we can't forget that he's probably is he gonna get fired? Do you guys think he's gonna like is he gonna succeed defending his position or no?
I feel like logically yes, but the story wouldn't want that to be the case.
Yeah.
Because that's not dramatic.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, because when Oscar tells him, you have to talk to the people you fear the most, I thought he meant talking to Robin. Like, talking to the people of Mantle. But instead, once Ironwood gets his invitation, he goes, well, your wish came true. I'm going to talk to the people I fear the most. So it's like, okay, so he fears Jacques. So that's interesting. So I'm like, all right, does this mean that he's going to start working with Jacques? Is it not? Like, I don't know. There's so many ways this can go. And I am excited for next week.
I'm afraid, no. The dinner's going to be intense. Because this is what, episode 8 now next week?
Yeah, episode 8.
Yeah.
We're more than halfway through. Which is why I'm like, well, is Atlas gonna, like, is this finale gonna be Atlas falling to the ground? Or is it gonna be the tower? Like, I don't know. Suddenly, I don't know.
Could be both.
Oh, man. Everything's just crashing down around. Yeah. Like, there's just... Also, like, if Atlas falls to the ground, doesn't that create a big enough crater to be, like, a thing, like, you know how the dinosaurs got extinct? Isn't that, like, a big enough, like, size? No?
You just don't question it.
Don't question it. Okay, I won't question it.
We might find out.
It's like that. Wasn't there a plot line in the Avengers that was like that? Age of Ultron, where they had the city above and then it's going to come down?
Yep. And it's going to like...
It's the same kind of idea.
Yes, same. Yep. All right, well, that is...
what happens.
That is what happens.
So look forward to next week.
Yeah.
Yes, look forward to next week. Moral of the story, don't create cities above, like, they're floating. Don't create floating cities. They're
not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Everything must come down eventually. Don't do it. But yeah, that does it for this episode. Is there any final thoughts you guys have on it?
I'm just amazed that the theme of this season is communication and truth. I didn't realize that before this episode, and now I'm like really interested in that. So I don't know. I'm exciid.
What was last volume's theme? Because wasn't it also
look at RWBY,
like
it's good again.
I mean, care.
You know?
No, you're right. But also, I don't know, because I thought, maybe last volume was also kind of communication, but I guess not. I don't know.
It was coming back to each other and the fans.
Yes. That's what last one was. Now this one is communication. Okay, Ali, any last thoughts?
No, I'm just echoing. Don't play BioShock. Don't build a floating city.
Exactly. Floating cities. They're a danger to us all. That does it for this podcast. You can find out all the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Katrin, aka Patron Katrin. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.